Hello, community. Happy Monday. Happy Thursday to all of us, community. It's this beautiful Thursday where we have our live YouTube session. Welcome to today's event. As always, we're very thrilled to have you here with us. And we always look forward to these events as they give us the opportunity to not just socialize and gather together, but to really shed some light on our industry, bring awareness to this industry that we care so much about, the blockchain industry, and also shed light how we identified the challenges within this industry, turned those challenges into opportunities, and those opportunities into solutions by developing smart contracts and deploying them on Ethereum blockchain and addressing the challenges, mainly the four major challenges that plague the entire industry, and have a solutions for that through our ecosystem. With that said, once more, welcome anyone that is tuning in for the first time. Welcome to today's event. We are a very active community. We are consistently active throughout the weeks. We have various events throughout the week. We are daily on Zoom, and we have 2 events on Twitter, Saturdays and Mondays. And then Thursdays today we have YouTube event, and then Fridays and Sundays we have exclusive events for the queens in the industry. We take pride that our industry is led predominantly with the queens, by queens. And this is something that is very unique because we all understand that even outside of the crypto industry, mainly it's male dominated. And we take pride that we have an industry that is led predominantly by the queens. So we are very humbled about this. We as men, we are humbled enough to acknowledge that we won't be here without the queens, right? All humanity comes through a queen. So it's an honor for us to have such numbers within our industry. Needless to say, of course, we have wonderful, amazing, consistent, hardworking kings as well that represents the ecosystem extremely well. And for them, we are also grateful, of course. And for those that are regularly tuning in consistently, welcome. Always a pleasure to see you. I see your comments. So we'll come back to all your comments, of course, at the end of today's session. As the topic already gave it away, who controls liquidity controls the world. I mean, this is absolutely by far my favorite topic because this is just the reality of things. This is just the economic reality of things, as we will see as we progress throughout this session today. Before we kickstart, I want to really encourage us, those who have not yet, as you know, we have daily community events, and that is engaging with the tweets that are being put out. All 3 of them are out already: Survivor, Killer Whale, and Bull Run. So let's ensure that we engage with them. Why? It's because, like we said, one of our 4 pillars is education. And the whole idea and purpose behind these events that we do on a consistent basis is to bring awareness to this industry. This industry is fairly young, so there's a lot of room for growth in terms of being educated, being informed. And with our industry already being hit with negative press, it serves us as a community to contribute, do our part to change the narrative of our industry. So this is how we bring awareness to this industry and also educate those that choose to tune in on various topics that affect us directly, be it current events of the day, of the week, be it how monetary system works, our financial industry, inflation, liquidity, and how liquidity affects interest rates, how interest rates affect the liquidity, its inverse, and then how liquidity affects the boom or bust cycles, bear or bull markets. So various topics that directly affects us as an industry that we owe it to ourselves to be informed about, right? With that said, those who have not yet, let's engage with the tweets. All of them are out. And like we said, we'll come back to all your comments at the end as we will jump right into today's session and go from there, right? And then we'll come full circle and then we'll go through your comments, community. So once more, welcome to today's community event. There's quite a bit to cover. It's a beautiful topic that is going to hopefully bring a lot of awareness to us as crypto enthusiasts, as blockchain technology enthusiasts. With that said, community, who controls liquidity controls the world. And we don't like to make just bold statements like that and leave them unturned. Of course, we will have to take time and to justify that type of statement. That's a bold statement. So we'll have to not just double check or triple check, but we'll have to quadruple on this one. And always use these sessions as a point of reference. Don't even take my word for it, right? Make sure that you use these as a point of reference, because we are just here to inform, educate, and inspire. None of what we say is financial advice, just so we know, right? So with that said, community, as always, let's always start from the very beginning. Let me refresh this just so that we have an idea and we can see where we at. We at the 2.8 trillion market cap, as we see here. And we are down 1.7%. We all aware of what the market shifts are, the ups and downs. And we understand that this market is extremely sentiment driven, right? And this is why the fear and greed index over here on the right side, top right, the fear and greed index is at 20%. So this just shows you how fearful the market is. The market doesn't like uncertainty. It can't take it. The market always wants to know what's going on. It's like that friend you have that it's so nosy, they always need to know what's happening. And they feel offended and get emotional if you don't feed them the latest news, the latest gossip. That's how the market is, right? You always have to feed it the latest gossip. It always needs to be in the how. If not, it gets nervous and emotional. That's the financial industry for you. So with that said, there's really nothing much to add to this. As we know, it's a very young industry, very volatile, very illiquid. So there's a lot of movements, like we said, based on sentiments. And also because the two largest cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum, are ETF'd now, meaning they have a stamp of approval for the institutions, and it comes with a big tag price. And that's they have the opportunity to, of course, shift the market to a certain way because they're extremely liquid. ETFs are more liquid than centralized exchanges, right? So when the selling takes place or manipulations happen, panic happens, and you read in the news how IBIT, which is BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, is selling hundreds of millions. It causes panic, and the market starts selling, obviously, on centralized exchanges, and that's how it works, right? And then the liquidations that follow also, along with speculators leveraging, taking loans to bet against markets going up or down, they get liquidated, and then that's how the market works, right? So enough of all of this. Let's get to understand one thing, community. Now that we understand how sentiment-driven, how emotional the industry is, this is, of course, fueled by the media, right? And we need to really understand this. What we're doing right now, we are setting the stage for today's session so that we're on the same roadmap, right? We're on the same mindset, and we understand what's happening. So knowing that this industry is sentiment driven and it's a very emotional industry, media is the fuel behind it. So media is a powerful tool to not only destruct and monitor, but also to direct sentiments and focus towards an opposite direction and far from the actual desired outcome, as to hit the markets by surprise. Remember what we just said. The market doesn't like surprise though, right? The markets don't like surprises. So anything that is not already priced in or talked about all the time and hits the market by surprise, it causes major shifts in the markets, right? So, like in November, we were told by Jerome Powell, the chair of the US Federal Reserve, that 2025 will have at least 4 interest rate cuts. Promised by the sitting President Trump of a Bitcoin reserve and cheaper groceries at our local grocery stores. However, going in on 4th month now, the reality is 0 interest rates cuts for 2025, no Bitcoin reserve in sight, right? And high tariffs, meaning higher costs for our groceries. Of course, the market didn't anticipate this. Everybody was pricing in Bitcoin reserves, lower grocery fee charges for us at the local grocery stores, and interest rate cuts, at least 4 of them. This was already all priced in, and this is what was moving all the prices led by Bitcoin price to its all-time high. Not based on facts, just based on hearsay and speculations and wishful thinking, sentiments and emotions led the price to move up, but not because of facts. So this was a masterclass on how to take a market by surprise, how to cause maximum impact because no one saw it coming, because promises were broken and we were just a means to an end. Now, let that reality sink in. That's why don't trust what they say, because literally talk is extremely cheap, because you don't have to do nothing. There's nothing behind it. It's cheap. There's no actions behind it. But rather trust what they do, because doing something means there's an activity behind it. And actions are expensive. Actions are costly. So don't trust what the media says or what people say or what politicians say or even what I say, but trust what's happening. Trust actions. And this is exactly what today's session is all about. It's about actions. Because actions are expensive and costly. Talk is cheap. Everybody has opinions for free. So let's focus on those who are actually putting the money where the mouth is and actually doing things, actively building and creating and actively participating. That's what we want to focus on, not on media, sentiments, gossips, negativity. That's cheap. So with that said, let's jump right into today's session. Who controls the food supply? Controls people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. Now, the last one is very impressive. Who controls money? Money is credit. Credit is liquidity. You can name it how you want. It's synonymous. Money, credit, liquidity, same thing. So who controls money or liquidity or credit can control the world, right? So I really think that this statement, this quote, is the best entrance to this topic today. Who controls liquidity controls the world. That was a bold statement. So we verified it. And there isn't a quote about, there is even a quote on it, right? But let's not drive our information based on quotes, right? We know better than that. So it's a cute quote. We like it. It's inspiring, but let's verify. Let's verify, right? Let's ask Mrs. Google. So what we're asking Mrs. Google here is very interesting. Let's ask Google, who controls money around the world, right? Let's ask Google, who controls money around the world? Well, Google is saying that central bank, so bank is controlling the world, right? So we just verified that, there is something to it, at least. There must be something to it. We're not sure yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's verify still. So central banks, Reserve Bank, National Bank, or Monetary Authority is an institution that manages the monetary policy of a country or monetary union. In contrast to a commercial bank, a central bank, now this is interesting, possesses a monopoly on increasing the monetary base. So it's no argument. It's a monopoly. No questions asked. It's a slam dunk. It's a done deal. Who controls the money around the world? They are banks. Why? Because who controls liquidity controls the world. It's as simple as that. But let's not take their word for it yet. Let's ask another question here. Who controls the world economy? Right? Not just the money around the world, but let's look at who controls the world economy, right? Who controls the world economy? So many people think that the global economy is controlled by governments of the largest economies, right, in the world. But this is a common misconception. I hate to disappoint. This is a common misconception. It's not true. Although the governments do hold power over countries' economies, it is what? Again, the big banks and large corporations that control and essentially fund these governments. So once more, it shows you that whoever is able to fund something means they have control or are in possession of liquidity of some sort. So once more, whoever holds the liquidity is in control of the global economy, the country, whatever the case may be. So we were able to verify. So there's something to it. There must be some truth to it, right? But we're not quite yet convinced. Let's go further, community. Let's go further. So let's go further here. So let's look at, for the sake of time, we want to focus on 4 major companies here. We'd like to focus on 4 major companies because we want to justify this topic today and we want to verify and get to the bottom of this. Is it really true that who controls liquidity controls the world? It's a very important assumption that we need to address. So let's look at the 2 largest payment processors in the world. They're known as the global payment duopoly, right? And they're Visa and Mastercard. The global payment duopoly. These are the leaders in terms of global payment systems, global payment networks. So the global payment processing market is dominated by 2 major players. Like we said, we identified them as Visa and Mastercard. These 2 companies account for a staggering 90% of all payment processing. The keyword here is outside of China, because China also has Union Pay, and that's a whole different beast. We'll look at it on another day. We want to focus on the US market right now. However, outside of China, it's 90%, right? So why is this so important? And the question here is, how Is it possible that in the era of global competition, such a large market niche is completely dominated by only two players? This is a serious question. 90% in our modern day, two companies are leading, dominating completely, right? This is again to verify our statement. They're dominating because they control liquidity. If you control liquidity and facilitate liquidity and credit, you rule and control the world. This is another verification. That's the reason why, right? So what I want us to look at is, we already saw this, we know this, okay, fine. Dominant in market share, we already read about this, right? Approximately 90% of all payment processing outside of China comes from these two. Okay, now what we want to understand also is, let's look at some history behind it. Because I like to believe in a quote that goes like, learn backwards so that you can live forward. Learn backwards just simply means learn history, learn what has happened before. And once you understand what happened before, you'll be more prepared and aware of what's coming ahead of us, right? That's basically all it means. So let's learn backwards, right? So origins is like the origin of credit cards industry are over 70 years old already. So it goes back in the 1950s, where companies like Diners Club and American Express pioneered the space. Here we are again, community. We have that situation again where the current dominating industries, these two are dominating by 90% today. But these were not pioneers. They were not the pioneers. It wasn't the idea. They were not the revolutionary idea behind credit card payments. It was Diners Club, actually, and American Express. At least American Express, we still hear one or two things about them today, but Diners Club, they're completely gone. This is another proof that just being the pioneer, yes, it will give you competitive advantage at the beginning, but if you don't keep up and address the challenges within the industry, you'll be left behind, even though you had an 8 years head start, as we will see. So Visa and Mastercard emerged from the major American banks, leveraging first mover advantages and restrictive contracts to solidify their market positions. This one sentence says so much that we can't just leave this sentence like this. We have to dissect it just briefly. So basically what they're saying is that if it wasn't for Visa and Mastercard's major forming or leveraging first mover advantages and restricting that advantage through contracts or patents, this is the only way that they were able to solidify their market position, because Diners Club had an 8-year head start. So the only way they were able to do this is to combine their forces with major American banks, which had existing infrastructure, existing licenses, existing merchants and retailers in their pipeline. So even though they were behind 8 years, they used their first mover advantage in merchants and retailers and restricted the contracts, or used the patents that they had in place to restrict and solidify their market positions. So what is their competitive advantage? right? What's the competitive advantage? We always talk about competitive advantage is something we are very familiar with, known as the network effect. Every time you're using a technology or a network, you have a network effect, literally. And this is what we need to understand, is that this right here. Visa is a network. It's a network, and they're not issuers. Banks are the ones issuing cards, right? They're the ones providing cards to their customers. So Visa is a network. Mastercard has a network. They're facilitators. They're just facilitating the process. We'll learn more about that. We'll come back to this. So like we say, network effect is one of the competitive advantage, scalability, and distribution through, again, major banks that already exist. This is their competitive advantage. This is the reason why they were able to close down the 8-year gap from the pioneers, which were Diners Club and American Express. So, we can't live without history. We have to get to history, and we'll get to it. We'll get to Diners Club. We'll get to Diners Club. I just want us to stick for right now with the history of Visa and Mastercard. So right now, Bank of America entered the credit card arena, right? 6 years later, 1958, Diners Club launched their first credit card. We'll go to the history. So anyway, Bank of America, a bank, entered the credit card arena and introducing a product that was initially exclusive to California, the state of California in the US, right? And in 1966, Bank of America's card began to be licensed for use in other states. And the name of this business was changed to Visa as we know it today. And this company then was spun off as an independent company back in 1976. So back in 1966, Bank of America back then came up with an idea. And this idea was to license their network that they have already. Network of banks. Remember, like we saw here, what's the competitive advantage? Distributions through major banks. This is their competitive advantage. They have large and deep distribution chain through major banks. And this is what they did. And they spun out an independent company back in 1976, and it's called Visa as we know it today. The same year, 1966, also a consortium. Consortium is a fancy word that just means also, again, multiple banks came together, right? And they established something known as the Interbank Card Association, or ICA for abbreviation. And this would ultimately introduce Mastercard shortly after. But we also, they changed the name to Mastercard as we know today, back in 1979. So that's just a bit the background. Now that we understand the background of how Visa and Mastercard came to be, and now that we understand that they were not the pioneers as we know them today, but rather it was Diners Club, right? And American Express. For the sake of time, let's focus on Diners Club, because Diners Club was really the pioneer, right? So let's briefly just go through Diners Club. So Diners Club is the world's first independent charge card, right? And it holds a unique place in history as payment cards. And it was founded back in 1950 by a gentleman known as Frank, right? And the Diners Club revolutionized the way people paid for their expenses, because prior to that, there were people who are just paying either with cash or checks, right? So being able to do this was revolutionary, literally. So let's just briefly look at this. How did this happen? So back in 1950, Frank had an idea that would change the way people handle their financial transactions, right? And this is so beautiful to see how he came up with that idea. So while he was dining at a New York City restaurant, he realized that he forgot his wallet and was unable to pay the bill. So inspired by this embarrassment, he and his partners, Ralph and Matty, founded Diners Club as a solution to eliminate the need for cash in restaurants. So Diners Club, like the name suggests, was developed, or rather invented or pioneered, for restaurants strictly. That's hence dining, right? Diners Club. So you're able to charge your expenses on your restaurants that you visited, and that's how all of this came to be, right? This is how they pioneered this. So again, Diners Club introduced the very first ever charge card, right? Enabling customers to make payments at select restaurants without cash. That's how all of this was birthed. I'm not going to bore us with all the history behind it, but I just want to identify some things here. I want us to understand one thing here is the decline of it, right? The 70s and 80s brought various challenges to Diners Club, right? While it enjoyed significant success during its early years, increasing competition, changing consumer preferences, right? Again, you always have to, just being the pioneer doesn't mean you can just sit in the back seat and keep doing things the way you did it back in the 70s. It's not going to work. So there was a change in consumer preference, consumers' interest, retailers, you and I, we needed things differently, you know? And the rise of more versatile credit cards led to a decline in Diners' market share, right? And what were those challenges like? For example, the limitations, right? There were many limitations that were there. Was, for example, that these accounts were store specific only, right? You're able to only go to specific stores, specific restaurants, and that's it. So, for example, having a credit with a local retail store in New York won't help you much if you had a credit card from a local retail store in New York and you actually want to shop in London, for example. What's the use? You can't do it. And these were the limitations. These were part of the limitations that this Diners Club was offering, for example, right? So, and many people, of course, were traveling and they needed a more portable credit form instead of going with checks or cash, right? So these were the challenges that Diners Club was literally facing, and they were not willing. These were the changing consumer preferences that were changing, and they needed more variety to be more versatile, have more versatile credit card, but they didn't want to go or move with, they didn't want to move along, right? Unfortunately. So if you see here, Diners Club, the pioneering spirit, they innovated, they transformed the way people made payments. We have to give them credit for that, right? However, even though they had success, like we said, early success during the years, the increased competition and changing market dynamics led to its decline. So even though they were dominating by far, had an 8 years head start of the next competition, that's a lot of time. But nonetheless, they were not able to meet or maintain their lead and their competitive advantage because they didn't want to move with the times. They were not shifting based on changing consumer preference, and to offer a more versatile credit card solution. And these, in short, just means they were not addressing the challenges in the industry. simply put, they were not addressing or were not willing to address the challenges in the industry, and this led to their demise, right? So this now leads us to the market leader, back to Visa and Mastercard. This is what Visa and Mastercard were doing right. This is what they were doing, right? Because let's understand one thing. Visa's role in global commerce is to coordinate. They're only here to coordinate. They offer a platform, a network, and they're coordinating the long chain of intermediaries between buyers and sellers. That's it. They're facilitators, taking a small cut out of each transaction, right? So this is what Visa in a nutshell is doing. They're just offering a network. They're the middleman literally between buyers and sellers. And then they take a small cut of each transaction. So they started just being based in California, and they still are, and they have 61 million merchants and 3.4 billion different Visa cards branded, 3.5 billion Visa cards and 61 million merchants. This is a large clientele to have. So you have the sellers, 61 million merchants, and you have the buyers, 3.4 billion Visa cards. And of course, mostly, like we say, are issued by banks, because Visa doesn't issue credit. They're just facilitating it. They have the platform that is addressing the solution. Literally, they're offering a platform that is addressing the solution within the industry that pioneers such as American Express and Diners Club invented. They saw the lack, they identified the challenges within the payment industry. They addressed them, looked at them as find solutions to the challenges, and then dominated the industry. It's really simple if you think about it, right? Identify challenges. You don't have to be the pioneer, but as long as you're addressing the challenges, you will be the market leader. So another thing I want to highlight here is this. Visa understands that this is very much a volume business. This is beautiful, community. Remember, we always say, use your volume efficiently. This is exactly what we mean. And Visa and Mastercard have perfected it. They're using their volume efficiently. Actually, they turned the volume into a business. That's how good it is. They're the perfection of what it means to use your volume efficiently. And this is what the crypto industry still has not understood. How to use your volume efficiently. You can even make a whole business out of it. And these are one of the 4 challenges that we address, right? Lack of liquidity, inflation, sustainable staking distributions, and the 4th one, efficient use of volume, right? And Visa turned it to a whole business, and they're dominating. They're doing it so good. So anyway, they have a present in over 200 countries, like we know, and territories, and they racked up $9 trillion in commissions just last year alone. 9 trillion. That's almost the amount of assets under management that the largest asset manager, BlackRock, has. That's just in commission alone, right? And the revenue has been growing by 10% every year. It's been growing by 10% every year. It grows more and more and more, right? And the beautiful thing, like we said, Visa is actually collectively owned by over 10,000 banks. Remember the competitive advantage that we were talking about? Remember the competitive advantage that they have is they have a large distribution through major banks. Major banks. And this is what sets them apart. This is their what goes for them. This is what makes them win, is they are collectively owned by a bunch of banks, a lot of them. And the final thing I want us to look at is here. Now that we know that Visa is sitting at the top of the financial service world, Visa has very little competition. That's just a fact, right? Apart from Mastercard at the global level, right? Because people still pay with checks and cash, okay. But in some individual markets, there are local players vying for their share as well. But majority are using either Visa or Mastercard, right? So the difficulty of such would-be competitors catching on lies in a dilemma. There's a dilemma here. So consumers won't use a payment network or a payment system if merchants don't adopt it. And merchants, the same, will only do so if there is enough consumers, right? And guess what? Visa and Mastercard, they have both. They have 61 million merchants and 3.5 billion consumers ready to purchase with their Visa credit cards, right? So they have both. So how will you be able to compete if you have both the merchants, or in our modern day, if we look at it in a crypto area, you have the traders and you have the liquidity. We see the parallels here. You have traders, you have liquidity, and you're using your volume efficiently because you understand that this is a volume-driven business. So if you can attract traders and you're accumulating liquidity and you use your volume efficiently, community, do we see where we are heading with this? I'll leave it at that. Let's move on. So let's highlight it's a volume game. Let's highlight that. So if we look at the next article here, we see a picture speaks more than 1,000 words. There's really not much I have to say here, right? These are transactions globally within a year. So Visa is leading by 267 billion transactions. This is mind-boggling. We'll look at some numbers even to really make sense out of all of this, but just bear with me for now. Like we said, UnionPay is China-based, and they're covering the whole Asia area. Then they have a very minimal market share in the US, in Northern America, but they already took over Mastercard, and they are literally challenging Visa as we speak. However, the moral of the story here is how much transactions that are going through, right? 267 billion transactions. So there's a lot of transactions, and it might not tell us much. So let's look at some specific numbers here. Once more, we're looking at who controls liquidity, credit, money, controls the world. And we're seeing it happening right in front of our eyes with It Takes Two, right? Visa and Mastercard. What are they doing? They're literally dominating the world. These are not my words, right? They're dominating the world. This is what it says, right? They're dominating the world of payments. This is the topic. Who controls liquidity? Controls the world. Here we have it right in front of our faces. Another verification. Control liquidity, control credit, and you will control the world. It's really as simple as that. And Visa knows it best because they created a whole business around volume, right? Because they even tell you this is a very much volume business. They understand volume is where it's at. And if you can bring traders and have liquidity and you use your volume efficiently, then you have a perfect storm. I hope we're following along. So back to dominating the world, and let's look at some numbers here. So just to understand, so US merchants paid an eye-watering 93 billion in Visa and Mastercard credit fees last year. These are just passive. They just have this network that is solving the industry's challenge, right? Bring versatility. Don't just use it on restaurants alone, but offer a network where you can bring merchants and credit together, and then all you do is you just take a penny out of it, right? So they made 93 billion between the two of them just last year alone. So these two, that has made the two companies into an absolute giant, right? These two are giants. 90% dominance, 93 billion just in fees alone, and these two are absolute giants. How big are they? They grew by 40% just in the last 20 years, and they have such a large profit margin of 50 to 65%. And this just shows you that, once more, let's highlight this. They understand that this is a volume-driven business. Use your volume efficiently. So every time we're talking about efficient use of volume, always picture Visa in your head, right? So use your volume efficiently. Why is this the case? Because they understand that taking a few pennies of the dollar is a simple formula, right? Very simple. However, it's one that can quickly add into billions. That's the business plan. That's a formula of Visa. Very simple, very straightforward. In terms of crypto, we would say put together. Let's go back here. All it means is put together traders and give them liquidity, and then have a mechanism, a network, an ecosystem that knows how to use, first of all, understands that we're in a volume game and uses the volume efficiently. And voila, you have a success story. It's really simple like that. So now let's summarize all of this. Digital is the way of life, right? This is how it is as we speak today, moving forward. It doesn't matter, regardless of the markets, we are dependent on and use of technology, right? We can't do without it because it covers almost every sphere of life that we go through. Everything is happening online. Everything from grocery shopping, food delivery, taxi service, online classes for students, money transfers, paying our utility bills, and we can list even more, right? And along with this switch to digital is the increase in usage of mobile phones, smartphones, right? For convenience. So this widespread usage of applications for daily life has had the impact to increase confidence in doing payments transactions online. So you might ask yourself, Steve, why are you highlighting so much about Visa? Why are you pointing Visa out so much? Bear with me, trust me. There's a reason why. So we just need to take away is that this is something that we need for our daily life. Everything happens online. Everything that we do, it's online. This is Visa and Mastercard, right? So now let's move on to another one. This one is very familiar too. We talk about this one every day, almost every community event. So let's have a deep look at BlackRock, right? Who is BlackRock? BlackRock is the Goliath of asset management. There is nothing that comes close to them, right? So BlackRock, the takeaway here, is a leading company in the sectors of investment management, risk management, and advisory services, with institutional and retail clients worldwide, right? And really, that's all we need to know about them. They are the Goliath of asset management, and they're the leaders in asset management. And the beautiful thing is, they're not just leaders in asset management. They are literally also now digital asset dominant. They also have a digital asset dominance now. So the universe's largest asset manager has now a new crown, right? And now they're also dominating the digital space as well. So BlackRock has surpassed Grayscale as the leading manager of on-chain, meaning blockchain capital, right? And with this lineup of exchange ETFs, of course, right? They have the largest, like we know, Bitcoin product in the market, which is still continuing to impress, right? They hit over 23 billion assets under management on the blockchain. And again, BlackRock's dominance also highlights the growing footprint of traditional companies in the digital asset industry. And this signals a renewed crypto confidence from some of the world's largest money managers. All we need to understand here is that we may be seeing the beginning of a changing of the guard. What does this mean? Remember, today it's Visa and Mastercard that are dominating. 60 years ago, it wasn't Visa and Mastercard. It was Diners Club and American Express. But because they didn't want to move and address the challenges within the industry, they didn't even identify them. They got left in the dust. And now the two that are literally addressing the challenges in the industry are now dominating. This is what it means, right? They don't want to be left behind. And just like Grayscale was the ones leading the digital space, BlackRock is now taking over. So why? Because these firms don't want to leave money on the table, because they understand this is a liquidity business. Why would you leave liquidity on the table? You need to accumulate it. You need to retain it. You need to monopolize it. That's what it's all about. For BlackRock, it's a liquidity business. For Visa, it's a volume business. Follow along, community. We're heading somewhere. So now that we know this, let's just briefly summarize. Like we know, BlackRock is a US investment company. Like we know, they issue ETFs under iShare brand, and it includes products backed by stocks, bonds, commodities, and so on and so forth, right? Crypto. And currently, the current numbers, they have over 11.5 trillion assets under management, and they have amazing products through their Bitcoin Trust, iShare. They have the Ethereum ETF and blockchain Bitcoin ETFs, as we know, right? So that's for BlackRock. Now we have discussed Visa, we've introduced BlackRock. Now let's go to another one, the fourth one now, JPMorgan, right? So let's briefly look through, read the topic. What's the topic? JPMorgan's dominance. How come they're always dominating? These are dominators. These are market leaders. Visa, Mastercard dominate 90%. Asset manager BlackRock dominating. Now JPMorgan dominating. Let's look at the chart. Picture speaks more than 1,000 words. So let's just focus on this picture. It shows us that JPMorgan here far left is by far dominating in terms of market cap. So not only are they the largest bank with 3.5 trillion assets under management, but also in terms of market cap, they're by far leading. If we take Bank of America, which is the second largest, and add Wells Fargo to it just for the sake of it, their market cap combined will not even come close to JPMorgan's market cap. And to make this statement even stronger, if you look at Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, and Citigroup combine all these four numbers, and you will barely be even with what JPMorgan's market cap is. This just shows you how JPMorgan is literally dominating the banking industry in the US and globally as well. So this just to show you the impact that JPMorgan has nationally and internationally in terms of asset managing and market cap. They're completely dominating this industry. The second one, Bank of America, is almost half of its market cap. That's just how dominating it is, right? So now that we see this, we can now go and understand something else. And as always, this is a very famous theme, and we just have to get used to it, because all four of these institutions we've been talking about, there's always one thing that is always said about them. They always dominate. They're always dominating. This is a common adjective. They're being described as dominating, right? So JPMorgan is dominating the banking landscape. They are known to dominate the banking landscape. It is the largest United States lender and the world's largest bank by market cap as of 2023. So not only are they the largest lender in the US, but they're the largest bank in the world based on market cap. This is just the impact that JPMorgan has, that BlackRock has. Let's keep this in mind, right? The company is the largest asset manager in the world. This is BlackRock, right? We just read JPMorgan. JPMorgan is the largest United States lender and the world's largest bank in market cap, right? Let's keep this in mind. And then let's go to Visa. What did we read here? We read here that they are the global payment duopoly. How big is their duopoly? These two companies account for 90% of all payment processing. So we are talking about these four institutions, and all we talk about is, all they have in common is they are dominant. They are dominating anything that has to do with liquidity, storage, payment processing, assets management, custody. They are controlling liquidity, money, assets. And who controls liquidity controls the world. And they are verifying it, because they are either facilitating payment processing, they are managing assets, or they are managing deposits. Because they are in control of liquidity, they are controlling the world. So I think we get the idea, right? So this is so far so good. Now let's get to here. Let's hear what this individual is saying. And what makes this individual so interesting is because this is the CEO of Bank of America. Remember, Visa, as we know today, comes from Bank of America. They just made its business independent, but Bank of America owns Visa, created, developed Visa. Let's keep this in mind, community. Let's understand this, right? And don't take my word for it. Let's listen to the CEO of Bank of America himself. Let's quickly tune in and hear what he's saying, and then we'll break it down briefly.
Let me ask you a separate question now, and Becky's got one back in Washington, but on crypto. We just had Brian Armstrong sitting in the seat that you were in, and obviously there's a lot of excitement about crypto. The banking business, for the most part, has stayed away from crypto. Given President Trump's full-throated support for crypto, do you imagine Bank of America is going to be full on in the crypto business if we have this conversation 12 months, 24 months from now?
I'd separate out this sort of crypto versus stable assets and digital movement of money, because we already move the vast majority of our money digitally. our consumers do, our companies do. And so the question is, what's the business practice that you have to move another type of currency? So if the rules come in and make it a real thing that you can actually do business with, you will find that the banking system will come in hard on the transactional side of it, non-anonymous, transactional, verified, et cetera, because we have to, because it's just another way our customers are going to.
The other thing we were talking about was the possibility that Bitcoin and some of these cryptocurrencies actually are a threat to the US dollar. Scott Bessent's talked about needing the US dollar to be super powerful.
Yeah.
Is it a threat?
I think there's a whole bunch of dynamics about all the trade and all the consumption of the US consumer and all the stuff that goes on. But I think we do need a strong US dollar. We need a US dollar to be reserve currency. It's good for our country. But what I'm saying is if you go down the street here and you go in and buy lunch,
right?
If you can pay with Visa, Mastercard, a debit card, Apple Pay, et cetera, this will just be another form of payment in an instantaneous cash transfer. And so I think if it becomes regulatory okay, which it wasn't before, and that's one of the issues, you'll see the banking system enter with, we have hundreds of patents on blockchain already. We know how to enter the field. When you get...
He said a few points here, community, that I really want us to really soak in. First, he started with saying the dollar needs to be strengthened. The dollar needs to be strong. That's first and foremost. Everybody agrees on that. It's the World Economic Forum agenda. It's the president's agenda. It's the executive orders agenda. It's the task force, crypto digital asset task force agenda. It's the bank's CEO's agenda. You get the idea. This is what's happening. So first of all, strengthening the dollar means stablecoin clarity is going to happen, and it's happening. That's the number one. Secondly, he's talking about literally saying to the reporter, he needs to calm down. He's saying that not only do we have hundreds of patents, but we know how to get into the industry. We know how to get into the market. Now, do I need to remind us who and how, rather, this happened? Do I really need to remind us how this happened? We need to really understand one thing. And to understand it, we have to come back here. We need to understand that Visa and Mastercard, they emerged from major banks, right? And the competitive advantage is that they have a distribution of many banks. And we need to also understand that companies like Diners Club and American Express, they were the pioneers in the space. That was back in the 50s. Nobody was talking about Visa and Mastercard. They were not even around back then. It was just Diners Club and then later on American Express. So Diners Club had 8 years a head start of Visa. So what we just listened to right now, what this individual is saying is that we have not only hundreds of patents on blockchain, but we know how to enter the industry. Just listen one more, just this part.
A debit card, Apple Pay, et cetera, et cetera. This will just be another form of payment in an instantaneous cash transfer. And so I think if it becomes regulatory okay, which it wasn't before, and that's one of the issues, you'll see the banking system enter with, we have hundreds of patents on blockchain already. We know how to enter the field.
We know how to enter the field. He's telling the journalist that you're talking to a company that is a pioneer of payment processing, that is literally dominating the payment processing industry. Just so you know, we have hundreds of patents already lined up. We know how to enter the industry. We've done this 60 years ago. We know what we're doing. Are we waiting for our regulations? That's it. And he mentioned Visa himself. He mentioned if you're doing payments with Visa, he mentioned Mastercard, Google Pay, Apple Pay, and so on and so forth, but he started with Visa. Why did he start with Visa and Mastercard? Because those two alone dominate 90% of the entire Western industry outside of China. 90%. So The takeaway here is that not only do they have hundreds of patents, but they know how to enter the industry. They've done that before, 60 years ago. So what are they telling us? Where are we heading with this community? Now we're getting to the second part of it. Now you ask yourself, well, Steve, this is all nice, but where are we heading with this? Why are you telling us about Visa? Why are you telling us about Mastercard? Why are you telling us about JPMorgan and BlackRock? This is why. Because Visa, as we know, they introduced their Visa tokenized asset platform. And this Visa tokenized asset platform, which helps products, which is a new product that helps banks issue fiat-backed tokens, deposit tokens, or stable coins for banks. And with BBVA being the first Visa tokenized asset platform user to create tokens. And this platform is on the public blockchain on Ethereum. This is the reason why. So we're starting again with Visa. Visa, which is, we've spent the whole last hour talking about Visa, Mastercard, JPMorgan, and BlackRock. We've identified how they are dominating liquidity, and they're dominating the world. Because they're dominating liquidity, they're dominating the world in their respective industries. Visa and Mastercard in payment processing, they're dominating credit, they're dominating the world. JPMorgan in custody, they're and lending, they are dominating lending and custody. That's credit and deposits, it's liquidity. They're dominating the world. We looked at asset manager BlackRock. They're the largest asset managers in the world with 11.5 trillion. They're dominating liquidity. They're dominating the world. Now, what are they doing? They're now doing the same thing, but now they're doing it on Ethereum blockchain. This needs to sink in, community. The same leaders in the real world, this is not meme coin, this is not some celebrity coin, this is not a president's coin. This is Visa and Mastercard dominating the industry. This is JPMorgan and BlackRock dominating the industries, dominating liquidity, dominating the world. And they're on Ethereum blockchain now doing the same thing, about to do the same thing. This is why we took our time the last hour to identify who Visa really is, who BlackRock really is, who JPMorgan really is, and how they're dominating in these industries. So Visa has a global network, like we know. Visa, they are facilitators. They have a network, a global network of 15,000, more than 15,000 financial institutions. These are all merchants. And help facilitate seamless transactions. They're just the facilitators. They're facilitating transactions because they're in the business of volume, remember? They're in the business of volume. That's all they do. They just facilitate volume of fiat currencies across 200 countries and territories, right? Now, Visa is applying its expertise that we've been talking about for the last 1 hour in new technologies, such as smart contracts, to enable banks to issue and transfer fiat-backed tokens over blockchain networks. Which blockchain network specifically? It's the public Ethereum blockchain. Let's understand that, right? Okay, this is Visa. Let's move on. Let's go to Mastercard. First of all, Mastercard has been building networks, like we know, for nearly 60 years. Remember, we just talked about it. So these are individuals that were not just launched 5 minutes ago and already been rug pulled. They've been around for 60 years, and they've been making payments safe, simple, more accessible for everyone for the last 60 years. So we know that to be safe and effective, at scale, a network needs rules and safeguards. This is why regulations must be put in place for them to participate. They're not just going to jump into the wild, wild west led by meme coins and pump.fun, but they need clarity, regulations, safeguards, not for themselves, but for their hundreds of millions of clients, right? So their platform of network needs to be governed and needs to be in compliance and convening convening expertise to a platform for the next generation of financial applications, right? So they need clarity, guidance, governance, compliance, and safeguards in place. So let's go up. This is another network, just like Visas, like we just saw. And they took it to another level. What they did is they took their network that they have and are now integrating their network, right? Mastercard tokenized network. And now they're integrating it with JPMorgan's Kinexys digital payment network. This is exactly what they do. So what they're doing here is that today Mastercard announced they're integrating their multi-token network for tokenized deposits and tokenized assets with Kinexys digital payments, right? Formerly known as JPMorgan Coin. And this allows clients of the two solutions to send payments across networks, and both companies emphasize the benefits for cross-border payments, so on and so forth, right? This will address the traditional challenges. Why are native crypto companies or ecosystems, why are they not focusing on addressing traditional challenges? Why does it take institutions to address challenges, right? So imagine if you specifically develop an ecosystem based on solving challenges. Imagine where that is going to take us. And that's what our ecosystem is about. It's developed based on solving challenges. And these two came together, the two market leaders, we've been talking about them for the past hour. Because what? Because they want to solve traditional challenges with speed, transparency, and time zone difference. These are challenges they are facing right now, and they want to address them using this technology. They see blockchain as a technology and not just some random meme coin you flip every day, but as a technology that you use to solve existing traditional challenges. This is the mindset I really would appreciate the industry to embrace, right? Because if we don't, Mastercard will do it. Visa is going to do it. JPMorgan is going to do it, right? So these are the things that we need to focus on and highlight. Unfortunately, these are things we don't listen, we don't hear, are not talked about, are not highlighted on social platforms such as Twitter or on YouTube. All we hear about are just the negativity. So we know Kinexys, we know them already, right? They are payment designed to support clients with JPMorgan bank accounts. So these are existing clients they already have with accounts with JPMorgan. We just saw that JPMorgan is the largest bank nationally and globally in terms of market cap. So it's mainly used by corporates that want to move money between JPMorgan branches around the world, right? So the MTN from Mastercard is going to simplify solutions to enable banks to engage with tokenized deposits now. And instead of developing their own blockchain networks, it offers banks an API-driven solution. Community, does this sound familiar? You don't have to develop your own blockchain. This is what they've been doing. This is what they've been doing. This is what the history is all about, right? This is what makes them be so dominant. This is what their competitive advantage is that they have they're benefiting from the network effect that they have, literally, because they have a distribution of, they have over major banks in their pipeline that they have. They're working with major banks together. So this is something that we really need to understand. And another thing that I want us to understand is that they have connections. They connect 61 million merchants and 3.5 billion Visa card holders. And they understand that this is a volume business. Let's never forget that. So that's Mastercard for you. But now, what is Kinexys? Remember, we looked at Kinexys, right? So what is Kinexys? Who is the platform that Mastercard is integrating their platform on? Why is Mastercard connecting or integrating their system on Kinexys? What is Kinexys? So Kinexys, as we know, but for those who don't know yet, is the so-called next generation financial infrastructure, right? It's basically a tokenized investments for faster cross-border payments, right? And it's on the blockchain, of course, and it's by JPMorgan, right? And it's to supercharge today's system, which is slow. It takes 3 to 5 business days to process things, and they have proven solutions to automate complex financial operations and unlock utilities, right? So where is this Kinexys? First of all, JPMorgan, they debuted their tokenized BlackRock shares as collateral. Like we know this article as well. And not only did they do this with BlackRock, but with Barclays as well. So JPMorgan has already put this system that they have, Kinexys, into practice. It's already working, right? Now the question is, where is it working? So this Kinexys is, of course, on Ethereum, right? It's on the Ethereum. It's based on the Ethereum blockchain. And they're already, so Mastercard is integrated in JPMorgan's Ethereum-based tokenized collateral network. This is what the article we previously read is all about. Mastercard is now integrating their platform also on Ethereum blockchain that is owned by JPMorgan. So not only Visa, like we saw earlier, but also Mastercard. Why? Because follow the money. If the market leader Visa chooses Ethereum, in order to keep your market share, of course, you also have to choose Ethereum, right? And the beautiful thing is to see how they have a concept that is already working on a user level. For you and I, we have the opportunity to have a wallet that retailers, you and I, can use, or traditional merchants, the places we purchase from, even online, crypto native merchants, if you're people from the crypto space, and companies. We can all have a wallet that we can use. Then this is where the wallet layer comes in, right? And we can hold various forms of assets, digital assets, and then we'll be able, there's an institutional layer as well for institutions. And then there's the token layer where you verify it through your, like we're using our smartphones right now, our mobile phones. You can use various ways to onboard the users. Very straightforward. We are very familiar with these. And then the settlement layer, finally. And this is something retailers, traditional merchants, crypto merchants, and corporations, they don't even realize what the settle layer is on, because they're on private chains like Onyx, like Kinexys, and such as public chains like Ethereum, like we saw. They don't know what's happening, how these transactions are being processed in the background. They don't really care. All they see is a beautiful, familiar interface with a company that has been around for over 60 years, right? and that has a market dominance, and it's partnered with the largest bank in the world to make all of these happen on the Ethereum blockchain. Visa and Mastercard, now JPMorgan, we saw JPMorgan as well. Now, let's close out with the fourth and last one. BlackRock, also on Ethereum network. They launched their fast tokenized fund, BIDL, also on Ethereum network. Now we came full circle. The same four institutions we talked about at the very beginning, and we focused on how they're dominating and controlling liquidity and credit and assets in the real world and controlling the world because they're controlling liquidity. Now, all four of them have one thing in common, actually two things. The first one is they're using the adjective dominance. They're dominating the industries. Second thing in common, they're all on Ethereum network. All four of them. This is the topic of today. Who controls liquidity controls the world. Now, the world's liquidity controllers, Visa, Mastercard, BlackRock, JPMorgan, are now literally controlling and bringing all that liquidity on Ethereum blockchain. We don't hear about this. This is news that is boring. Nobody wants to hear about this apparently, right? It's better to talk bad about how Ethereum's price is not going up, Ethereum's price is not mooning, it's not hitting all-time highs. But meanwhile, the liquidity controllers of the world that are controlling the world are busy building, having patents on Ethereum blockchain, and nobody even talks about it. Nobody highlights it. These are the news that should be talked about from Monday to Sunday, from January to December, all day long. But it's not fun. We rather talk about hacked centralized exchanges, pump.fun meme coins that are rugging people every 2 hours, and so on and so forth, right? But meanwhile, real things are being built and real activities are happening, and so on and so forth, right? So now let's bring this home, community. Let's bring all of this home. Let's understand what just happened. After all of this that we've said so far, community, and let's go back here. Let's have a conversation real quick. We focus so much on all that's coming towards us within the crypto industry, right? We always talk about what's coming and this is coming and all of these things that are coming, but we really don't discuss how it will get to us. We don't. When we started this session, we talked about how the promises that were made, and they remained promises. That's exactly what it is. They remained just promises, just words. And words, like we said, is cheap. It doesn't cost anything because there is nothing that was done. There's no activity. Nobody's putting their money where their mouth is. They're just empty promises. And empty promises are meant to be broken because promises are very cheap. But actions and putting your money where your mouth is, it's very expensive. And that's what we focused on for the last 1.5 hours. We saw where these large market leaders literally are putting their money where their mouth is and building on Ethereum, building infrastructures, right? So let's not focus on what people say, what the media is saying, what they're tweeting, and what they're misdirecting us to focus on and just distracting us. But let's rather focus on what people are doing. The irony is that we are so misguided by what people are saying, and they're just opinions, and people are trading based on other people's opinions or other people's promises, which they never deliver. But when here we just talked about how these large institutions are literally investing money, putting money where their mouth is, building, constructing, developing, and they're already market leaders. They are doing it. They're actioning. They're not promising us nothing. It's not a hype. It's true. They're building it. So let's focus on how it will get to us. And this is what we've been doing, right? We discussed who are the participants? What are the infrastructures in place? What influence have on a global financial scale? So the participants we discussed, Visa, Mastercard, JPMorgan, and BlackRock, they have two things in common. They're dominating their respective industries and they are building on the Ethereum blockchain. Those are the participants. What are the infrastructures in place? Platforms to onboard more than 15,000 financial institutions and facilitating merchants with credit. That's the infrastructures that are being built. And participants, what influence do the participants have on a global financial scale? Like we said, they are dominating their respective industries. They are not the second best or the third best. They are the cream of the cream. They are the giants. They are the dominants. They are a duopoly. Those are the adjectives that are describing them. They're literally dominating the industry. Those are the participants on a global financial scale that are building on Ethereum. There will be a large liquidity demand community, along with the massive stablecoin issuance, various real-world assets, and integration of these incentives that these financial institutions we just talked about are bringing as products. Now, where will all that come from and enter the crypto space? How will retailers, merchants, businesses, and governments be linked together in an efficient way to make all of this a reality? This is what we've been discussing for the last 1.5 hours, right? We've explained, broken down exactly how retailers, merchants, businesses, governments will be linked together in an efficient way to make all of this a reality. So it's one thing to just talk about something, but it's another thing to identify and highlight how they've done something about it. So the only place where we see that financial institutions, traditional institutions, are literally building infrastructures to connect retailers with merchants, businesses with governments, and link them in an efficient and sustainable way with a track record and bring all of this in reality. All of this is happening only on Ethereum right now. That's the only place this is happening. So let's break it down even further. An economy needs liquidity, transactions, assets used as collateral, right? Liquidity, BlackRock has a liquidity fund on Ethereum. We need assets, right? Or liquidity also, we can say Visa and Mastercard, they're offering credit. That's liquidity. And then we need assets that are used as collateral. That's where BlackRock come into play. Remember, they're the largest asset managers. So that's where BlackRock is bringing on chain. And then the collateral side, that's where JPMorgan comes into play, because they have a tokenized collateral network also on Ethereum that is using BlackRock's tokenized assets as collateral for the derivatives market. Now you see everything going full circle. For an economy to work, you need liquidity, you need transactions, right? And assets used as collateral all of that is already being provided by Visa, Mastercard. They have the liquidity and transactions because they're connecting merchants with credit. And then we have assets used as collateral through BlackRock. They are the largest asset managers, also using blockchain Ethereum. And then we have the collateral, which is a network, tokenized collateral network issued by JPMorgan. They have the network, collateral network used for the derivatives market. And this is how these four institutions together create all of that. And that's where the infrastructure comes in. Then infrastructures to facilitate all this in terms of trusted, proven concepts. Not just some random meme coin launched 5 minutes ago, but these are institutions that have been around for 60 years. They are trusted. They have a proven concept that are already well adopted in the traditional finance, and we are already using it in our daily lives. So we need payment system networks reaching all corners of the world. Trusted market leaders such as Visa and Mastercard, asset managers such as BlackRock, and large banks such as JPMorgan, which are market leaders and would be the best examples as these four institutions. These four institutions combined process, manage, custody, and lend out majority of the global wealth community. These four alone are enough. Everybody else is just going to follow where the liquidity goes because they're the market leaders. You follow where the leader goes. That's how it works. And they lead the flock. They set the trends. And this is what's happening. And this is why Mastercard is following where Visa already been 4 years ago, right? So everybody follows the leader. So let's close this like this, community. What we've talked about so far, this is not wishful thinking. This is not exaggerated hype or misleading information to manipulate the markets one way or the other. None of that. But rather, these are facts that are already in motion as we speak. Infrastructures that are already in place to launch live versions early this year. These are well-regulated institutions with power to dictate and shape the future of the global finance and global economy. And they're here to stay and build even further on their dominance using the blockchain technology, using the Ethereum blockchain. So the questions, community, that we should ask ourselves are, do we really understand the impact this has on us? Ask yourself that question. Do you realize and understand the impact all of that we've talked about so far? Do you realize the impact it has on us? And do you also understand the opportunity this is presenting to us? If we understand the impact and the opportunity this has on us, that's the first step. Now, the second question we should ask ourselves is, will we get caught by surprise? Like we got hit like a train hit us, going along with the crowd, talking about all these promises and what Twitter is talking about all day long that never happened. It's just a bunch of empty promises and hype and just talk. But none of them has happened. So will we get caught by surprise, or will we be ready to capitalize from all the work we as a community have been doing in advance? All these efforts, all these daily activities, all these weekly activities, consistently for months, for years. of course, will not be caught by surprise. We've been doing this. We've been ready. We've been preparing. We've been talking about this. None of this is news to us. None of it. We've been talking about these things for so long. So, what does all of this tell us? All of this tells us that the most drastic catalysts are the ones that are not seen coming. Those are the most impactful catalysts. Things you never anticipated, or rather talked about. Things that will cut people, will cause catalysts, are things that nobody sees coming or nobody is really talking much about on social media, right? So this will take most by surprise. This will catch many unprepared, and it will catch most lacking. You'll be surprised, you'll be unprepared, and you'll be lacking. Most will be. And this is where the most impactful catalysts come from. Because if markets are already speculating and anticipating it, it's getting pushed based on hype and what crypto Twitter is talking about. But none of that really happened. Like, we started this session by identifying the 3 promises that were made, and 4 months later, and none of them happened. And this is why Bitcoin price was being pushed to all-time highs based on hype, promises, and that's it, right? But not on fundamentals, like we've been talking about for the last 1.5 hours, how the 4 market leaders, liquidity leaders, market dominators are building on Ethereum. Those are facts. These are the things that should be moving charts and getting people excited and hyped. But people rather build on fairy tales and hypes and empty promises that will never come to fruition, right? That's the difference, community. And with all of this said, community, this is where preparation meets opportunity. That's how we're going to wrap up today's session. Preparation meets opportunity. You don't have to sit around and wait for opportunity to show up. It's the opposite. You have to be prepared and knowledgeable and been busy, actively engaging, so that when opportunity finally decides to hit the town, you will be already ready at the gate, ready to go, awake and not caught lacking, unprepared, and surprised. That's the message for today, community. That's it on our side. And that's all we have for today. And all I have to say also is that this is what our ecosystem is all about. We will not be caught surprised, unprepared, and lacking, because we developed a platform, the Bullrun ecosystem, that is literally addressing the 4 challenges. And one of them, every single one of these institutions are focusing on one of them. We saw Visa, they are focusing and built a business around volume. Then the business of a volume, remember that? We discussed that, right? They understand that. Let's show that again. Let's use YouTube to show this again. Visa, they identified that this is very much a volume business. Simple. How is this a volume business? Well, all you do is you intermediate, bring the buyers and the sellers together. That's it. That's how it works, right? What you do is you bring merchants, you have 61 million of them, and credit, and then that's it. That's what you do. So if you can bring traders, attract traders, how do you attract traders? By having liquidity, right? This is why our ecosystem is focusing so much on liquidity, on retaining liquidity. Does it make sense now? And this is why we focus on using your volume efficiently. I mean, there's an entire business out there focusing just on that, using your volume efficiently. And those who are doing it are market leaders. So do we really have to sit around and wait for that to happen and to appreciate what we have? if we have the knowledge and really understand what we have, we need to be continuously doing what we've been doing, continuously being active, putting the word out, anticipating, embracing what's coming, and being ready and prepared, and not listening on crypto Twitter and all these negativity news that are dragging down the sentiment of our industry, but rather focus on the real news that is happening. This is not hype. There's not wishful thinking. There's not just random promises, but these are institutions that are not just market leaders, but they're already built. They're not going to build. They're already built infrastructures on Ethereum. It's a done deal. Like the CEO of Bank of America said, they already have over 100 patents on it. They know how to enter the industry. They've done that 60 years ago by introducing credit cards to the industry, by pioneering that industry and identifying challenges that Diners Club didn't address and American Express didn't address. Same thing, they're looking at what crypto industry is not addressing. This is why they're addressing it. They're bringing liquidity, they're bringing infrastructure, they're bringing volume, they're focusing on being in the business of liquidity. This is why BUIDL was created, right? BUIDL was created to address the liquidity challenge, right? And we need to understand all of that. So this is why our ecosystem community, we are addressing liquidity, lack thereof, inflation, you need to address inflation, sustainable staking distributions, you need to incentivize the stakers, because staking brings stability and secures the network. And that's an important function in a proof of stake mechanism like Ethereum is. And then last but not least, use your volume efficiently. Don't take my word for it. Ask Visa and Mastercard. They're in the business of efficient use of volume. They created an entire industry around efficient use of volume. So when we focus and talk about efficient use of volume, always keep in mind, think about Visa and Mastercard. They have an entire business behind it. If we talk about liquidity, think about BlackRock. They have an entire business around it. They're in the business of liquidity. They have a liquidity fund called BUIDL. They're asset managers. If you want to talk about incentives like sustainable USDC distributions, understand that only comes through the efficient use of volume, because these distributions are based on volume and the liquidity that we put out. So if you're in the liquidity business and understand the volume business, everything else comes perfectly. The USDC distributions are coming, and because you're using your volume efficiently, you are using the volume to also reduce your total supply. That's how you address inflation as well, and that's how you address sustainable staking distributions as well. So focus on liquidity and using your volume efficiently, and then inflation and sustainable distributions, staking distributions, are just a byproduct of that. And this is what our ecosystem is all about, community. And as I scroll down here, we have 4 different ways to retain liquidity. The most obvious is through the trading volume. That's the most obvious. But we go beyond the obvious, and we have put aside 10% to stake, buyback, and stake, buyback, and stake. Right? That's the second way to retain liquidity. The third way to retain liquidity is through this staking booster NFTs. You need 5 of them to unlock your 100% USDC distributions. And these boosters serve as a scalable source of revenue, which are used to feed into the liquidity pool. This is the third way how we retain liquidity. Now, the fourth way is the most interesting way. That's where the entire community comes into play and does what this is already doing, right? Now, you are the one that you can use your USDC distributions to buy back and stake even more. We, as a collective, can do that. And as we do that, we are retaining even more liquidity. We are burning even more supply, and we accumulate even more USDC. And we're using our volume efficiently. Ask Visa about that. So This is why we say that we have a platform dedicated for as solutions. We identified the challenges in the industry. Those are the 4 challenges in this industry. That's what Visa identified that Diners Club did not have, that American Express did not have. Go into an industry. If you want to disrupt an industry, you have to study it, understand it, take your time, identify the challenges in that industry, study the market leaders in that industry, identify what their challenges and their strengths, right? Keep the strengths. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but address their challenges, turn them into opportunities, turn those opportunities into solutions, then develop smart contracts using the latest technology, blockchain technology, to address them. Once you've done that, build a community around it by having daily sessions, weekly sessions. Do it on a consistent basis, not for a day, not for a week, not for a month, but for years, consistently, without rest, and build an informed, educated, inspired, purpose-driven community around it, because that's the only way DeFi will ever work. You need a platform, but that's not enough. That is addressing the 4 challenges. That's not even enough. You need a community that is smart, that is informed, educated, on top of events, that is committed, driven, passionate about what they have, that identifies and understands what we have, that we actually a community that is addressing challenges that no one else in the industry is even talking about, let alone has addressed. That's it for today, community. Let's get to today's comments. Let's get to today's comments, community. Great brother Theo says, greetings and happy Thursday, my great brother Steve, dearest great queen Mama Wino, and my epic BRL family. As always, I'm so excited and grateful for these priceless sessions. Thank you, General. Salute. Thank you as well, great brother Theo. It's always a pleasure to see you in the community. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. I hope that today's session had some inputs that you're able to take away from today's session. We have Queen Val says hello and happy Thursday to us all bull runners. What a topic. Just by that statement, we already know how much important liquidity is. Can't wait to hear what our professor has in store today. Thank you for your feedback. Very much appreciated, Queen Val. I hope that you are not disappointed and that you are able to take away something from today's session. Like we always say, use these sessions as a point of reference and do your further research, right? We're only here to inform, educate, and inspire. None of what we say is financial advice. Thank you so much, Queen Val, and you're absolutely right. It just shows you how much and how important liquidity really is. And that was the takeaway of today's session, to really understand why we always emphasize so much on liquidity. Why do we always emphasize so much on efficient use of volume? Why do we emphasize so much on sustainable incentives for stakers? And why do we emphasize on using your volume efficiently? At least today we should know why, right? And as a staking platform, you need to be at least deflationary, if not scarce. Scarce is even better, right? So thank you for your feedback, Queen Val. And also, these are the links to all the new members that I have that are not part of our community yet. Feel free to join through Telegram. We have Boran here, we have Survivor and Killer Whale as well. So feel at home, welcome, and be part of this great community that we have. Be part of this movement that we are all about. So thank you, Queen Val, for putting out the links for all of us. Queen Esther says hello, family, and our amazing developers, Queen Mother and King Steve. Hello and greetings back to you too, Queen Esther. It's always a pleasure. We're glad that you're able to make it today again as a very consistent community member and participants. You're very much appreciated. We have Queen Resego says, good evening, our developers, Queen Mother and Brother Steve. Good evening, BRL community. We are here for yet another life-changing session. Let's buckle up. The train is just about to move. I hope that you're able to take away something from today's session, Queen Resego. It's always such a pleasure to see you within the community. Your persistence and participation is always very, very much appreciated. We have Queen Patricia says, hello, Boran family. We are more than happy for another life-changing educational session. Likewise, Queen Patricia, greetings right back to you as well. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic, and I hope that you are able to take away something from today's session. We have Queen Lati saying, hello, Boran family. It's another exciting moment to sit and tighten the seatbelts for the educational session. Thank you, our developers, Queen Mother Awino and King Steve, for the Boran ecosystem. You, Queen Lati, are also the one that is making this happen. Of course, it's not a one queen show. It's not a one king show. It takes every single one of us to make the Boran ecosystem successful, right? So you are just playing a key role as well, Queen Lati. Then we have Queen Tomeletso as well, says, good evening, Boran family. Good evening, right back at you too, Queen Tomeletso. It's a pleasure to see you consistently participating in these community events. Then we have Queen Kinole, says, good evening, family, and your developers. Looking forward to today's session. I hope that you were able to take away something from today's session, Queen Kinole. We are always thrilled and humbled to see you and have you participate in these community events. Then we have Queen Gloria saying, good evening, BRL community. Be strong. We're all going to win. Thank you, my mentor, King Steve. Thank you so much, Queen Gloria. These are amazing, uplifting feedbacks that you put here. Absolutely. You know, that's all we need to do. Strength comes with understanding. Strength comes with knowledge, right? And we can only be strong if we are knowledgeable and informed, because there's so much media bombarding us on a daily basis that we are consuming that can lead us astray, right? That can wear us down, especially in an industry that is already sentiment driven and already emotional as it is. So you're absolutely right, Queen Gloria. We need to be strong, and we're going to make it because we are informed and we are educated, and we are purpose driven. We understand where we are because we learn in reverse, right? We learn backwards. We understand and see what happened before. We can put 2 and 2 together and we see where we're heading, right? And let's focus on the good that is actually happening and actions that are taking place, and not be confused and distracted by just random hypes and just empty promises, right? So Queen Kube says, happy Thursday, Boran family. Another day to hear what our developer Steve has in store for us. Queen Kube, we are happy to have you consistently in our community events, and I hope that you are able to take away something from today's session, that it was informational enough for you to use it as a reference point for yourself. And we appreciate you very much. Happy Thursday right back to you too. And then we have Queen Debbie says, greetings to you, my Boran community. Greetings to you, my brother Steve, and our beautiful Queen Mother Wino. Flowers to you, my brother Steve, for all the hard work you are putting for us. Thank you so much for your very uplifting and encouraging words, Queen Debbie. I appreciate and accept the flowers, and now I'm giving you back the flowers as well, and thanking you as well for all the efforts, your consistency, the inputs that you put in. Very, very much appreciated. Your leaderships that you put in. I believe we can speak on behalf of the entire community that we all appreciate your efforts as well. And so please receive your flowers just as much. And then we have Queen Mafayane. Evening, BRL community. Very informative and eye-opening message. Thank you for your feedback. I'm glad that that's your takeaway for today from today's session. I'm glad to hear that, and we are pleased to have you in the community. Feel right at home, and we are always happy to see you in our community. Then we have Queen Patricia saying, "Good evening, family, and Mr. Steve. We are back again to listen to the best brains and on issues of money and our lives. Thank you, Steve. Stay protected and blessed always." Thank you so much, Queen Patricia, for your very uplifting and encouraging words as well. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you in the community. And I hope that you're able to take away something from today's session. Again, it's not a one king, one queen show. It takes every single one of us. And you as well are playing a major role, Queen Patricia, by even just participating so consistently. Your feedbacks, your engagement, very, very much appreciated. My brother Bram says, "Evening BRL community. Hope haven't missed a lot. It's being recorded. You will always able to go back and tune in again. So you definitely didn't miss anything. It's a pleasure to see you in the community. I hope that you were able to take away something from it today. And I hope that you are doing great, my brother." Queen Grace says, "Thank you once again, Steve, for your selfless efforts to empower us, the community. Knowledge is power indeed, because we have been empowered, educated, informed, and inspired in the crypto industry." Beautifully said, Queen Grace. We just want to thank you as well for all your efforts, your input, your uplift, the way you uplift the community. You lead by example yourself as well, and you're very much appreciated. You're all over the various social platforms, encouraging us by action and leading by example as well. So thank you so much, Queen Grace. You're also very much appreciated, and we appreciate your feedback. None other than Queen Mama Wino herself says, "Greetings, family. Marvelous things about a community is that it enables us to welcome and help people in a way we couldn't as individuals." There's really nothing else I could add here, Mom. This is right on point, and this is what this blockchain technology is literally all about, right? There is no way we would have been able to accomplish what we are accomplishing today without this blockchain technology. We are from all corners of the world, right? There is no way we can accomplish this ourselves as individuals. It's not a one queen, one king show. It takes every single one of us. So thank you so much, Mom, for that. When we pool our strength and share the work and responsibility, we can help many people. We have an amazing, helpful, and dedicated community. Thanks, Steve, for another informative session. Thank you so much, Mom. Appreciate it very, very much. And yes, these are very true words, very sincere words, very uplifting. Like we always say, this is our motto. Our motto goes always like, find ways to add value to as many people as possible, and do it better than anybody else. That's the true definition of wealth, right? Because by adding value to others and doing it better than anybody else, that's true wealth. That's where wealth comes from. That's the source of wealth, right? And this is why we're doing these sessions. This is why we're putting in the effort and just adding our 2 cents, right? So this is exactly what it means by sharing work, sharing responsibility. Everybody's just adding their own task. They're doing what they're best at, right? That's how we're adding value. Everybody has their specialty in their own unique ways. So beautifully said, Mom. Very much appreciated. And we also appreciate you very much for leading by example and being the mother to us all, and being the loving and consistent person that we really can emulate and strive to be just like that in our community, right? So you're also very much loved and appreciated, Mom. Thank you for all that you do with the daily tweets, you and Queen Val. the banners. That takes a lot of time to come up with the concepts, come up with the ideas, put in the encouraging and informative words, and do that consistently for the last 18 months straight without a break. It takes a lot, and it's very much appreciated. We appreciate you all very, very much, and thank you for all that you put in. We have Queen Grace says, hello, BRL family, Queen Mother, and our developer Steve. Another learning moment. Thank you, King Steve, for your consistency. We thank you too, Queen Grace, for your consistency, and that you never miss these events. You're always here. You're participating, engaging, encouraging, uplifting, leading by example. You're very much appreciated, Queen Grace. So thank you too for your consistency. Then we have none other than Queen Mother Caroline herself says, greetings. Education is a key component in the ecosystem. We are able to make better decisions when we have enough information. The more we know, the better. And thank you, Steve, for keeping us informed. Beautifully said, Queen Mother Caroline. First of all, you're very much appreciated. You're very much loved as well. And thank you for your feedback. Very much appreciated. And it's true. Knowledge is power. It's not just a cute sounding statement, but it's a fact, right? Knowledge is peace, a peace of mind. Knowledge is comfort. Knowledge is confidence, right? So beautifully said, Queen Mother Caroline. It's true. And we thank you as well for being informed and being consistent and participating in these events. Come rain, come hail, come sunshine, you always show up, you're always ready to go. Very much appreciated. Queen Becca says, amazing session going on. Thank you for your feedback. Queen Becca, I hope that you were able to take away something from today's session. And we are always pleased to see in the community. We appreciate you very much. Great brother Abdullahi says, huge thanks to you, King Steve, for dropping those knowledge bombs. You're igniting the Buran family with expert insights and game-changing strategies. We are learning, growing, and getting pumped up. Thank you so much, King Abdullahi. You're very consistent. You're leading by example. And your insights in the Buran ecosystem is unmatched, unparalleled. And hence, the Buran analyst, indeed, King Abdullahi, that's what you are, along with your comrades, WPR and 2B2. And you guys are really doing amazing. The Kings are doing amazing on social platforms, and all of them consistently. Very much appreciated for your leadership as well. So you are getting all of us, the entire community, also pumped up. So we appreciate your efforts. My brother Demo says hundreds of patents. Sounds like they know the rules already before us. Absolutely, they're in the know. You know, if you know, you know. Amazing session. I appreciate your feedback. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic as well. Queen Aloshi says, hello, Boran family. Awesome session. I now know liquidity is the heartbeat of any financial ecosystem. We are miles ahead, family, with BRL. Thanks, Dev Steve and Mama. We know we shall dominate surely. Thank you for your feedback, Queen Aloshi. Very, very much appreciated. Indeed, there are so many aspects that needs to be looked at. As we saw today, there's an entire business behind liquidity. The institutions, that's their business model, is liquidity. That's it. Then there are others. Their business model is efficiently use of volume. That's their whole business plan. And if you do those things right and efficiently and sustainably in this crypto industry, and you can also address inflation like we do, and you also retain staking distributions efficiently like we do. So we tackle 4 challenges by focusing and addressing on 2. You tackle all 4 of them. And this is how we saw these four institutions are dominating in their respective industries, focusing on liquidity and efficient use of volume. And this is how they're dominating. This is what their businesses are all about. That's what we have as a decentralized platform, putting the community's best interests at heart. So this is what we're all about, community. So beautifully said, Queen Aloshi. We have Queen Waigwa says, bull run is the way to go. Thanks, Mr. Steve. Thank you as well, Queen Waigwa, for participating. You're very, very much appreciated for your consistency as well. Then we have Queen Resego says, we are at the right place at the right time. Absolutely. Timing is key. Timing is very important. Pair that with information, knowledge, and purpose-driven knowledge, then we really, really take it to the next level, right? We have the platform, we have the right timing, right place, we are being informed as a collective. And all of this, we don't have to strive on our own. We are all working together, right? One collateral, like we said in our last community event, there's one collateral, one liquidity pool, and there's one USDC rewards pool, right? And every single transactions, every activity we make, we keep adding to liquidity. We keep reducing the supply. We keep accumulating USDC. And this is how a DeFi platform is supposed to work. The more it's used and it's taking advantage of the network effect, that's how you use this blockchain technology to the fullest. The more trades, the more volume, the more liquidity. The more liquidity, even more trades. And the more trades, the lower the supply, the more the USDC distributions, the deeper the liquidity, right? And that's how you create a efficient, sustainable platform. And you put the community's best interests at heart. It's a win-win-win for every one of us. Whether you're a trader, you have enough liquidity. You're a staker, you have enough USDC distributions. You're a holder, you have a stable and liquid and high volume platform that you can just hold, right? It's win-win-win for all market participants. And that's the most important thing that we need to understand. Address challenges, turn them into opportunities, and then turn those opportunities into solutions, right? And thank you so much for feedback. Queen Resego says, preparation meets opportunity. Mind-blowing. Beautifully said. This is it. This is exactly it. There's really nothing much to add. You know, people wait for opportunities and then they want to prepare for it. That's the wrong way around. You have to prepare for it before the opportunity even comes, because usually that opportunity is only good for visionaries, for those who can see the markets before it happens. So when people don't even see that opportunity, they look at that opportunity as a challenge or a scam, you're already prepared, you're running with it. And this is how you end up being the market leader, right? There are different stories about that, multiple documentaries about that. And the market leaders of today, Queen Resego, are not even pioneers. They're not pioneers. Actually, none of these four market participants, even today, are pioneers in their industries. None of them. These were ideas of their competitors. All they did is they just identified the challenges. They took advantage of the technology at their times, used those technology to address the challenges in the industries, and boom, with solutions and turning those challenges into opportunities and solutions, this is how they became market leaders, really. So yes, preparation meets opportunity and not the other way around, right? Queen Mercy says, hello family, knowing on what to do. Well, absolutely. You know, knowledge gives you that certainty, you know, being informed, being inquisitive, being curious, and also being critical, you know, and don't go with the crowd. When you see the crowd moving one way, move the other way, because the crowd is mostly wrong, right? We've seen it multiple times over and over again, right? So what moves markets are catalysts. And if you want a real catalyst with real impact, things happen that are not unexpected, right? Everything else is already priced in, right? This is why we see a market pullback, because none of that what was promised that is of relevance really took place, right? So people are just buying back right now, slowing down. So Queen Madawino says, Bull Run ecosystem is built with the community's best interest in mind. It's time that an ecosystem works for you and not against you. Absolutely. This is right on point, Queen Mom. This is what the blockchain technology was meant to be in the first place, right? It's meant to be centering or putting the community's best interests at heart. And the community is the engine behind this ecosystem. And people talk about monetary systems. This is a topic for a whole other day. But just briefly, a monetary system is not based on a single commodity, but it's like the name suggests, it actually takes a whole system. It takes an ecosystem for it to work, right? It needs to have multiple aspects to it. It can't just address one thing. It has to address all of them, all four of them. And it has to have both the platform and the community, you know? So it takes effort. It can't just have one thing or two or three out of the four. It takes all four of them. And to make DeFi work, it's not enough just to have the community, or it's not just enough to have the platform. You have to have both, right? So thank you, Mom, for highlighting this. Queen Marcy says, hello, family, knowing on what to focus on. Bull Run all the way. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to see you in the community, Queen Marcy. Very, very much appreciated. Queen Goleba says, yo, I really enjoyed the session. Thanks, Mr. Steve. You gave us knowledge that no one will take from us. What is needed is focus and be steady. Beautifully said, Queen Goleba. There's really nothing more to add on my side. Let's just leave it like this. We appreciate you very much, Queen Goleba. And this is exactly true. You know, what we need right now is to focus, consistency, and steady. Let's not be swayed. Let's not be sentiment driven, emotional, right? And this is where the knowledge and information comes from. This is why these sessions are here for. Ask questions, interact if you have any, you know, so that we stay focused, we stay dedicated, we understand that everything around us is just noise to distract us, right? And the good things are just still right ahead of us. And once we get there, we will not caught lacking, right? But we'll caught ready to go, prepared. And that's what this is all about. We have Queen Super says, good evening, community, listening attentively. I hope that this was something that you're able to take away from today's session, Queen Super. You're very, very much appreciated. We are glad to see you in the community today. And Queen Madawino says, Bull Run ecosystem is built with the community's best interest in mind. It is about time to have an ecosystem that works for us, not against us. Thank you, Steve, for having us in mind always. Exactly. This is very, very true. It's facts. We have an ecosystem that works for all of us, community. And every action that we make within this ecosystem, it's working for us, right? Every time we choose to compound, we're adding liquidity, we're banning supply, you know, we are accumulating USDC distributions, we're participating all as one, because we all have the same commodity, right? Same collateral, we have the same liquidity pool, we're gaining from the same rewards pool. So we're all in one, very efficient, right? Very efficient, very decentralized. We have our own autonomies. We have control of our own wallets, and that's what this is all about, right? Always put the community's best interests at heart. So thank you so much, Queen Madawino, for your insights once more. Great Brother Theo says, wow, this was another absolute phenomenal session. I don't want it to end. King Steve, you were on fire today and laid it all out for us. Thank you so much for the feedback, Great Brother Theo. Very, very much appreciated. Goes a long way. And also same to you as well. I'm glad that you were able to take away something from today's session. Great Brother Theo says, thanks as always for steering us away from all the noise and straight to the truth of what is really taking place in the industry. And thanks again for empowering us all. Thank you for the feedback, great brother Theo. I'm glad that you're able to take away something from today's session. Uncle George says, good evening, community. We are glad to always know that bull run with its unique tokenomics and liquidity are kings in the industry. All we need to know is to be patient, as the future is great. Thanks, Steve. Thank you so much for your feedback, Uncle George. Very much appreciated. We really appreciate your consistency, your leadership by example as well, your persistence, your commitment. Very, very much appreciate, and it goes a long way, Uncle George. I hope you and yours are doing great. You're in good health. We appreciate you very, very much. Queen Madawino says bull run is indeed the liquidity king. Absolutely, absolutely. Bull run is the liquidity king in various ways. Then we have Queen Joko says, evening community, focus is the way to go. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to Queen Joko. And this is the perfect way to close out this session today, right? Focus is the way to go. Just like Queen Joko says, let's remain focused, community. Let's understand and embrace that who controls the liquidity controls the world. This is something that we need to have at the center of our minds, not just our minds, but our hearts. We need to really embrace this. If you want to control the world, control the liquidity. These are not my words. These are not my words, right? These are not my words. And we can close with this, right? Who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. However, the one who controls money, liquidity, credit can control the world, right? So whoever controls liquidity controls the world. And this is what this session was all about today, community, right? This is what this session was all about. So with that said, community, I want to wish us all a wonderful rest of the week. And I'm always thrilled for the next event again that we'll have together. I appreciate all your contributions. I appreciate all your efforts, all that the comments, the feedbacks, the warm wishes are very, very much appreciated, community. We are here as a unit and we grow as a unit. And these sessions serve to gauge where we are, our mindset, and to be informed and educated as a unit so that we are all on the same page in terms of being purpose-driven, understanding what we're here for, understanding the industry, understanding the challenges that this industry represents, understanding the challenges the top cryptocurrencies in the industry are faced with, and then taking those challenges, using them as opportunities, turning the opportunities into solutions, and being part of a platform that is that's its sole purpose is solution oriented, right? We've seen today that there is an entire industry, entire market dedicated towards efficient use of volume. There's an entire industry focused on liquidity, right? And if you have those two things in place, you tackle inflation and accumulate and have sustainable incentives, staking incentives as well. This is what our ecosystem is about. With that said, let's stay focused, like Queen Joko said. Let's stay as a unit. Let's work together, share the burdens, like Queen Mother Wino said. And let's be engaged as usual. Let's be consistent as usual. And this is all we need to do, community. We have everything else going for us. We're in the right place at the right time, like Queen Resego said. And we need to focus and continuously do what we always do, persistently, consistently. With that said, have a wonderful rest of your week, community. Thank you for your participation. Those who have not yet join our community. Queen Val put the links out there for Killer Whale, Bull Run, and Survivor. Also, if you have not yet engaged with the tweets, they're all out: Bull Run, Killer Whale, and Survivor. It goes a long way. Same with this session today. Once it's done, let's ensure that we engage with it by simply just hitting on the like button, put something, add something in the like section, in the comment section that you enjoyed the most, or that you would want others to know about. And that goes a long way, right? And it will reach as many people as possible. With that said, bye-bye, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and till we meet again. See you another time. Bye-bye, community.